Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much. I'm so glad that you're here. Today I'm rocking some beach waves, and it's actually very appropriate because today I'm going to teach you guys how to color some beautiful iridescent seashells. This video was requested by Sarah Hubens, and Sarah, I hope that I'm saying your last name correctly. Sarah requested this video a few months ago. I apologize, Sarah, that I'm just now getting around to it. I hope you guys really enjoy this. So I will just see you on the other side and we'll get started. Okay, let's get started. Before we try to color something to make it iridescent, let's first try to understand what being iridescent really means. So I apologize for the reflection of my ring light onto my iPad. But if you take this seashell here, when something's iridescent, as you move it around, and we're not going to see it with a flat picture, but if you take the object and you move it around, like at this angle, it might reflect blue, but when you turn it, now it's reflecting red. And it has to do with the properties, like the light waves, as they're going in and they're hitting the object and they're intersecting, and maybe the blue goes in, but it gets reflected back out as red, stuff like that. So as you turn that object, if you think of like the curvature of a beetle, which is probably the most iridescent thing out there in nature, just naturally, as you see the beetle and the beetle turns, you might see like a really pretty sea green, and then it becomes like a turquoise or maybe a bright yellow. So that is hard to capture flat. So if you look, if we study this and we look at the colors, you'll see yellows, pinks, blues, some purples. And so those are the kinds of colors I tried to pull in for the demonstration today on how to color a seashell. It's actually easy to pull off. It looks more difficult than it really is. Like I said, I got this image off of Pinterest. So Pinterest is a fantastic resource for reference pictures when you're trying to color something and you want it to be a little realistic. So, okay, with that, give me a second, I'll get my supplies and we'll get started. Okay, today we're going to be coloring out of the Hanna Karlzon Tales from Atlantis book because she's got, of course, a ton of seashells in here. And here's what I've colored so far. I wanted y'all to see kind of how this is going to look as you complete this and make something look iridescent. So let me zoom in here and we can look at a couple of things real quick. Let me pull that into the frame. Okay. Yeah. So just even looking at this heart here, making it look iridescent. So I'm starting out with a base of, these are all Prismacolors pulled from the 150 set. So cream is going to be my base, which is it's cream. It's very pale yellow, really. And then I've got, this is Deco yellow. So those two together are going to make my yellow base. Now, the base can be like something more eggshell, something a little more with a white base, a cool, like a very light, maybe 10% cool gray, things like that. It could be any kind of a very light color. And then where you're going to have the fun is adding in the pinks and the turquoises to make it look like it's, shimmering in different spots with different colors. So here I'm using pinks. I've got a Deco Pink, Hot Pink, and this is, I believe, Lavender. Oops, I just dropped my pencil. And Parma Violet. Okay. Sorry about that. And then for the blue, we're going to use, and I missed one over here, Light Aqua, my favorite Prismacolor pencil ever, and then Aquamarine. And so what I did here was I colored the whole heart yellow, and we'll do this with a seashell in just a minute, but I just wanted to kind of walk you through my process. And then I started just coloring in a little pink. And I'm coloring the color on the opposite corner. There's no rhyme or reason as to why I did it on opposite corners. So I just started out here and went into a little lavender and then a very edge of Parma Violet with that darker purple. Then I repeated it over here and just put the darker purple around the corner. Again, no rhyme or reason. It just felt right, so I did it. You can do it any way you want to. And then I pulled the Aquamarine and Turquoise on the opposite corners. I don't want to say hearts have corners, but you know what I mean. And then in the very middle, I had it done and I liked it. Then I thought, wait, it needs something a little more dimensional in the middle. So I threw in just a little bit of Deco Pink. And then I took a very slight little line of light aqua next to it. And that's all there is to this. It's just really mixing up these colors and coloring them in such a way that maybe you can really imagine the light is reflecting these colors off of that surface of the heart. Okay, that said, why don't we go ahead and get started. And we're going to color, let's color the seashell right here. So let me get my yellows. Excuse me. All right. Sorry. I recording in the morning. I'm always a little groggy. Okay, so you can see I'm taking the cream and I'm just going to do a very light base of the cream. And I'm not pushing down very hard. Not really looking too hard at getting all the white space out of there, because you can't even really see the white space because this is such a light color. Okay, so laying that down first. Then the next thing I'm going to do, and I guess I should have shown you this first. So let me show you this and let me walk you through this process. And then I'll go back to coloring the other one. I'm sorry I didn't stop and do this first. So you can see we're laying down the yellow layer first. So we're going to start out with the cream and then I'll move to the Deco yellow to brighten up that yellow just a little bit. Then in these little creases, I'm adding hot pink and then a little bit of lavender over the hot pink. Then around like the curvature of the edges at the top, I'm adding the Parma violet and maybe a little Parma violet down these edges here, just for emphasis. And then around the bottom, so like on the opposite side of the shell, I'm pulling in the Aquamarine with the light aqua, and I'm drawing some of the lines down into the shell, just to make it look like these creases keep going down to the middle. And using the aqua, and then I'll take the Deco yellow and kind of smear it together, so it gives it almost a little greenish look here. But again, that's what's going to make it look iridescent, is having these opposite colors. And I don't mean like opposite on the color wheel, but I mean just these opposing reflections of different colors in different places on the seashell. I hope that makes sense. So let's go ahead and continue over here. Did I do that in frame? I hope I did that. I guess I'll find out when I look at the video in a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take the hot pink and just kind of lightly start putting the hot pink over these little crevice areas. And there's no such thing as too much or too little. You'll just kind of like when you're trying a new recipe, you just sort of taste test it as you go. So if you always start out just a little lighter, you can always darken it. If you make it too dark, it might be harder to lighten it. So we'll just start out there with a bit of the hot pink. Okay. And now what I want to do is bring a little bit more of the yellow in. So I'm just being kind of light, not real heavy with it. Just to get a little bit more yellow. We don't want to saturate this bright yellow, but we just want it to get a little bit more yellow there. Okay, now I'm going to pick up my lavender and maybe come around the outside of that hot pink a little bit, maybe go over it a little bit, just sort of fluffing up that pink just to make it a little, oops, and see how I got lavender in the yellow? I'm not going to worry about that at all. Okay, see how that's looking? And you can even go back with the hot pink if you feel like you lost too much of the pink and darken that up. Okay, so now I'm going to take my light aqua, and this is where I'm going to sort of try to continue these lines down a little bit, as if they're coming down from these little creases. Oops, here we go. And we're going to take the Aquamarine at the very bottom, and this one I'll start out a little dark. Okay. And maybe color that up just a little bit, but then it's going to be this light aqua that really kind of lightens as we go into the yellow. Okay. And now I'm going to take my cream and sort of smear it around a little bit. All right. Cool. So now let's take the Parma Violet, and I'm going to go, so on this side, I'm going to curve down to the left. On this side, I'll curve down to the right. So just sort of follow the curve of the contour, I guess. We're following the contour. So I'm just bringing it down just a little bit. Now this middle one, you can cover the entire top. You can bring it down on one side or the other. And I'm bringing this down over here on the right. And then I'm just adding a little Parma Violet on that guy right there. So now I'm going to come back in with my yellow. Add a little bit more yellow. Maybe a little bit in here. But I want more hot pink. It's going to darken that hot pink just a little bit more. Now I'm getting a little sloppier with how I'm doing this. Get the lavender, come back in with that. So you can see there's no real, not really any formula, but what you were trying to think about is like how these rainbow colors might be. We'll add a little violet or lavender there. How they might be reflected out in nature. So now let me get a little bit of this cream. Try to smear it together. Now, I'm trying to be careful with the yellow hitting the purple, the Deco, which is a little more saturated, because when you mix yellow and purple, because they are complementary colors, you will get brown. So you can go right up to the purple. But if you mix yellow and red, you get orange. So if you want to smear it or blend it, you can do it closer probably to the pinks. Okay. I think I want some stronger definition, like on these lines here, a little bit more to give them that. I think I've lost my lines a little bit, so maybe this isn't as good as the first one I did. But you see what I'm doing here. Back to the Deco Yellow. So yeah, there's your iridescent seashell. You can even take a little bit of your pink and smear the pink in with the Parma Violet if you wanted to. But there you go. And now what we can do is color one of these guys here. We'll color that next, just so you can see. So the same thing here. So what I did on this one, and I'm just trying to check to make sure I'm in frame for you guys. It's hard to do sometimes when the camera's above me. So I'm using more of the Deco yellow here to make this a little bit yellower, or more yellow. Creamer doesn't count at 5 in the morning. Okay, so we're doing that. And then I'm pulling the pinks down one side, and then I'm using the turquoise and aquamarine, or the light aqua and aquamarine, that is, down the other side. And then I've kind of created a little bit of a rainbow at this edge here, which is a signature of iridescent colors. So let's go ahead and get started on this one, and you can kind of see how I'm doing that. So again, I'm just going to go in kind of light with this Deco yellow. Not even being, like I said, I'm not being very neat about it. Just kind of laying down a light layer of color. Okay, the next thing I did here was I took hot pink and just like almost sort of sketched that hot pink around the very edge there. And coming in over here, just on the edge, on the edge. Okay. And then on this side, I'm bringing this strong aquamarine down at the bottom, and I'm curving it into the crevice, or that contour of the shell right there. but it's curving around and going across, curving around and going across. And then I'm going to take the light aqua and kind of color lightly away from that strong line to sort of blend it out a little bit, but not going too far up into the shell, and trying to stay over on this right side as much as you can. You don't want to carry it all the way across. I mean, I guess you could. It might look really beautiful if you did that. Do it your own way. Then I'm going to take the yellow, come back in, and we're going to blend that out a little bit more. Okay, maybe add a little bit more pink, make that a little stronger on that side. Blend the pink out just a little bit. You could even use a Deco Pink if you wanted to blend it into this yellow. And now I'm going to use the cream to really kind of blend it all, because again, I want it to be a more saturated yellow, but I don't want it to be like yellow when you look at it. Because I don't think we pick up seashells and think, oh, that's a yellow seashell. Maybe you do. And I guess it depends. And I'm sure there are a ton of yellow seashells out there, and I don't mean to show them any disrespect. I guess it depends on what part of the world you live in and what you've seen. Okay, so now on this side, I'm going to take the Parma Violet. This is where we're going to do our little rainbow. And we're going to add in the lavender down through hot pink and Deco Pink. And then down at the bottom, we will anchor it with a little bit of the yellow, which matches the shell here. And then I'm just going to take this Deco Pink and blend it all together. And then here, just coloring the spots, I'm using Parma Violet because it really contrasts and shows up nicely against that yellow. And then the lavender here. And then hot pink here. So there you go. So what do you think? So now let me zoom out a little bit. We've got two seashells. So really, I hope you've seen that the key is to put the colors on opposite sides to mix it up, but pulling from the bright pinks and the turquoises. And I will, I don't know how these colors convert to Polychromos, but I will try to put a conversion in the description along with of course, the Prismacolors I'm using in the description. So what I will do next is I will speed color these two seashells so you can see the process again. So let me get to speed coloring and I'll be right back. Okay, so what do you think? Is that something you feel like you can do? All that I did here, you can see I carried that iridescent look, just using the yellow and the turquoises. On the stars, I just carried yellow and then added a little pink around the edges. Just did like a little pink gradient on the pearls. I did iridescent coloring up here, as if these were like little pearls to color. So yellow down the middle, pinks or purple on one side, and then pink into turquoise on the right. So it's really just mixing up different variations of that. You've got this. It's really easy. I believe in you. I know you can do this. So I hope this was helpful and broke it down in an easy way to understand. And I hope you actually try it. And if you do try it, please reach out to me so I can see it. I'd love to see what you do with this. You can find me on social media on Snickerdoodling LLC on Instagram, or Kim Likes to Color with the number 2. You can also find me on my Facebook group, Snickerdoodling LLC on Facebook. But if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. That helps out my little channel and helps other people. It helps pop it up in other people's feeds so they can also take advantage of this content. That's it for today. I know it's super short and sweet. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope y'all have a great day. We'll see you next time.